What is going on, everybody? It is my favorite time of the week. It is Thursday. You have no idea how much I wait for this day to escape from the banality of life with the normies. I get to talk the real talk with my friends. I get to chat with you and answer your questions. I am so excited, and I'm sure Kenton's going to have a banger update for us. I can't wait to hear from them. Let's get this introduction out of the way. You guys, for those who do not know, THORChain is the world's leading Bitcoin DEX. You can swap Bitcoin with 10 different blockchains across 40 different pools without using bridges or wrap tokens. Check it out at swap.thorchain.org. That's swap.thorchain.org. Anyone in the world can use THORChain. There is no account to open. There is no KYC required. THORChain has two tokens, Rune and TCY. The fees for swapping on THORChain are paid in Rune, and that's where the yield comes from. The fees are deducted from the swap, so you don't need to own Rune to trade on THORChain. Isn't that nice? 10% of the protocol's revenue goes to TCY token holders as well. Remember to stake the TCY tokens in order to collect this yield. There are no inflationary block rewards, therefore the yield is real money paid by real users. Rune is also currently deflationary as 5% of the revenue is burned. THORChain is a full layer 1 with the ability to create smart contracts on it similar to Ethereum. This app layer is being developed by Regira. If you need help with THORChain in general, join the THORChain community Discord and Telegram group. Links for those are on thorchain.org. And guys, please follow THORChain on Facebook and Instagram and THORChain Contact on TikTok. We need 1,000 followers to live stream on those platforms. Please, guys, just make an account and follow, and then we can get this show on there as well. And always remember, guys, this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute financial investment or legal advice. And with that out of the way, you guys, I'm going to introduce myself. My name's Denny. I've been working with THORChain for half a decade now. Love it. I breathe it. I live it. I love educating about it. It's so much fun, and I can't wait to tell you guys more about it. But with that being said, I'm going to kick it to Kenton, my main man. What's going on, Kenton?
Hey man, good, thanks. I'm trying to take a bit of a vacation, but it's not working out.
Sucker.
Well, staying busy for you guys. I got things come to me, and I'm the bottleneck, right? So if I wait, it's delayed. So I'm still working for you guys, and maybe I'll do a quick screen share. Give me 1 second here.
By the way, Denny, while he's doing the screen share, maybe if you want to send me access to the THORChain TikTok, I might be able to start just posting some videos or whatever, just to help get to that 1,000 number.
Yeah, Kenton. I think he has the perms on that, if I'm not
with,
mistaken.
With the Coke, we'll connect you with the Coke.
Sorry.
Chat. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you with the Coke later, but maybe I can just start just posting a few videos.
Yeah.
I don't know, just talking
That'd be
about
great.
stuff or things. I don't really know what it would be, but like just to start getting followers, I suppose.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That's a sick idea. Love it.
So can you guys see the Messari page
Yes,
here?
we can.
Yep.
Well, this is one of the things that's been, I got a dashboard created for THORChain on Messari. So this is like, I don't have an account with Messari. So anybody listening, you go to Messari's homepage, and you see your spotlight new, and you click on that. And so it's showing Ethereum right now. Somebody's cookies. There's THORChain.
There's THORChain. Nice.
So THORChain is down here. So you click on it, and brings us to this whole dashboard here. Summary of THORChain, some metrics. This is AI, updated by AI, like pulling from like articles online. And then we've got all these revenue, volume, all the stuff down here. And this is all custom. So like this is what I've been going back and forth with Messari over the last 2 months on getting this all done and what should be there. Is it right? Is it wrong? Shout out to Ray Analytics. Ray was instrumental in helping get like the data for all these feeds and helping Messari. So you can see here, source, Ray Analytics. So getting Messari tied into our data. So this dashboard is, anyone can view it. And so when people are on Messari and they, playing around and they click on THORChain, they should come here. And And I'm still working with Masari to finish getting THORChain showing up in all their different like screens, like when you search for protocols with revenue and stuff to make sure THORChain pops up. So hopefully that'll be done here in the next week or two, and then yeah, I'm going to be on it. I'm going to be like really anal, make sure every little thing is done, is updated, and then once Masari is done, then I can focus on DeFi Llama. That's next on my list, guys. And same thing, get everything all dialed in, all the metrics make sense, they all work, and get that done. And I think I jumped ahead a bit. Sorry. I'm working on Masari and our website, the THORChain.org site. That's getting closer to finished. Once those two things are done, then I'm going to focus on DeFi Llama. STO, the swap site, is coming along. If you guys, we just added the ability when you connect your wallet to see your tokens on the right. There's a little quirks in that need to be fixed still, but it's coming. We'll improve it. So that's kind of the next thing that's going to be done now in STO. So that should make the experience for you much better. And then we've got a dashboard done for integrating wallets. So I can go in, Chad, Denny, Randy. I talked to Randy earlier, Chad, the new BD guy.
Yep.
He can go into this dashboard, create an API key, give it to a wallet, and send the link to the docs, and the wallet, boom, here you go, integrate THORChain. And so I'll send you the login for that too. So that's good. API is free, right? Any wallet can use it. We've already got native swap using it. I'm in a Cake Wallets express interest, so hopefully get them going. Someone else?
That's not
Awesome.
me.
If the audience can't hear, Coke just chimed in. I don't think they can hear Coke. And then TCP Swap reached out. I don't know. I've never heard of them. I mean, you guys have heard of them. But they're interested in integrating the API. It's me. What's wrong, Coke?
We hear a woman's voice in the background.
Oh, you can hear her?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm done. I'm done with my update. Let me see if I can fix this. You guys go ahead.
Yeah.
No,
you
you're
can mute
doing
for now,
great.
but
You're doing great, man.
really though, speaking of metrics and data and Randy and I had a meeting earlier this week with a team called Token Terminal, which feeds information into Masari, by the way. They also feed information into like CoinGecko, I think it is, or maybe even CMC, I'm not quite sure. We had a meeting with them, with one of their biz people, just to kind of evaluate like what they do and what the value they provide and these kind of things. But it's closely aligned to what you're doing, Kenton. So I should probably pull you into that conversation just to include you in the. I didn't realize that you working on this Masari stuff until just now.
Please, because like I want to do them, Artemis. I want to be in all of those. It's just a question of money. Blockworks, but they're all like $100,000 each. And if the Treasury is willing to pay for it, let's do it. 100%. Let's get them all. Let's do them all. I don't have the funds for the marketing budget, so I got to like piecemeal it, right?
I mean the Treasury's gonna have that kind of conversation about, the money of it all. 100 grand. What did you say? 100 grand a week? What'd you say? 100 grand a month?
Each. No, it's $100,000 a year.
Oh, a year.
And one might be 80, one might be 120, but that's the ballpark. It's about $100,000 a year for each platform. For the main ones, Artemis, Token Terminal, Blockworks, and then Masari, and then maybe there's another one I'm forgetting, but 100%. I know each platform, it's the same data. I get it. Same with Dune. I understand you guys, but the users aren't on. There's going to be certain users on Token Terminal, certain users on Blockworks, certain users on Masari, right? They're not on all of them, and we need to be everywhere. And those are more for targeting investors, right, as opposed to users. But like with Blockworks, they want to start getting integrated into Bloomberg and start posting stuff there. And that was one of the things they kind of pitched me on. They're just starting it. So if we went with them, we'd be like one of their first crypto projects going on the Bloomberg. And
Mhm.
for people, the listeners don't know, Bloomberg is like Masari for TradFi. Like it's the OG research platform that everyone on Wall Street has a Bloomberg terminal, and like they all know how to use it. So like, and you'll see people, these old school TradFi guys posting screenshots of their Bloomberg terminals. And so when the TradFi journalists come to crypto, if we could have our THORChain data on Bloomberg and they want to screen for cryptos, and we're like one of the first cryptos on Bloomberg, right? Like that's huge,
Yeah, yeah.
especially when our metrics appeal to them. This is why I hammer down the price earnings ratio and the actual, all of our revenue is real. This is stuff like real investors want to see, and they can't see it unless we're on the platforms. So, we definitely got to stomach the cost and do it. So sorry, Chad, to interrupt you. I kind of want to run with
No,
this,
no.
but absolutely, we definitely want to do these.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I agree. It's just a question of budget and all that kind of stuff, right? Um, yeah, that's great. What's next on the list to chat about?
Well, Chad, how have you? We went to we went to Kenton. So, I forget sometimes. We're talking to an audience that may not know who we are. So, maybe Chad, if you want to just do a quick introduction of yourself, and then, how's this last week been? 3.16 went live. Maybe we'll go
Mhm.
from there.
Yeah, so yeah, those who don't know me, I'm sure a lot of you do, but if you don't, my name is Chad Barrowford. I was the technical co-founder of THORChain back in 2019, a long time ago now, I guess. Well, it feels like a long time ago at least. And so I've been in the code since day one, and the last time I looked, I'm still the largest contributor in terms of like number of lines or whatever to the project. So and I'm actively technically leading the technical way in the project and pushing us forward on features and roadmap and other stuff like that. So that's me in a nutshell. Yeah, we just got 3.16 came out, I think like last week, Thursday, I think it was. We got Solana back online trading again. We're probably going to be adding more liquidity soon to the pool. We're trying to figure out how much that's going to be. It's not going to be a huge amount, like on purpose. I'm trying to find my little tab I had where I had all my things going on, but now I'm all lost. I have too many tabs, lost in tabs. Yes, we're rolling out V6 of the router. That's continue on. That's gonna be like every 2 weeks. We're probably gonna launch it on a new chain, I believe. Zcash hopefully coming out in like Mayish, maybe April, possibly if things get a little bit, if we get a little bit interesting. um, Hopefully roll a Zcash out in May, maybe April. And then probably rapid swaps will probably be flipped on next week, either Monday or Tuesday probably, and we'll be monitoring that to see how that performs and how that does. That's pretty neat. And then we'll be cutting 317. I think like April 3rd, I want to say, or something like that. We already have, by the way, in 317 we have like 50 MRs or 48 MRs merged with another currently 18 pending, trying to get in. So by the time we get to the cut, we should be around like, I don't know, probably 80, I'm gonna guess, something like this.
Oh,
Eight-
that's incredible.
80 code changes.
It's just crazy. Are these going to be fatter, or are they just? What do you think? Remember we talked about?
Fatter in like in terms of size, or fatter in
Yeah.
terms of like, yeah, they are, because the reason why is because when Huginn's writing, like going through and fixing things or whatever, it was just too slow for it to fix everything one at a time. It was just like some small issue be a code change, and some small issue another code change, and to get the devs to like review it all, it was more time consuming. And so now it's really doing like mostly batches of like 10 issues at once, just so it can move quicker through. Most of these issues are pretty small little tweaks and not really big deals, so it's like good to just kind of batch them up. Even the large PR I was talking about last week about like that 46,000 line change, the adding unit test, that actually got closed because the devs didn't want to review it. Because the devs didn't want to review a 46,000 line code change for some reason. I don't know why, but that's what it was. And so I closed it down temporarily, and I'm just going to reopen it in many PRs, just to take one really large PR and then shrink it down to like many small ones, so it's a bit more adoptable. And on the inverse side, Huginn taking too many small PRs and making them larger. It's kind of funny. We're going both sides of the spectrum here. But in any case, no, we're moving along quite well.
That's really hilarious. In fact, okay, I have to put in a question. This is actually from yesterday, but it's on YouTube, right? So it's a bit of a spicy question, but this person's like, this is in reference to a soundbite that we dropped last week, Chad, about you saying about the 46,000 lines of code. And this guy, he just cannot believe it. He's like, this has to be rage bait. What are your unit tests actually testing? Are you going to read 46,000 lines of code for 200 tests? Is that worth the time? So that's the question. If you want to take that.
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you. Like when it comes to unit tests, don't really care. It's not, it's not about making sure that every unit test is like exactly knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone. It's more about just getting the coverage in so that that when you make a change later that changes the behavior in a way that's, unintuitive or whatever, that you get the instant feedback that something has changed, maybe that you didn't intend. And having that feedback is not just good for me as a developer, but it's also good for like AI as a feedback of like, hey, we made this change and then this thing broke or whatever. And that kind of like, I mean, I guess it's kind of RLE in some ways from an AI perspective, but it's like having that kind of the ability to verify the change and know if you've changed the behavior in one direction or the other is just really valuable. So to be honest, I wasn't really intending to like even review that code with any kind of seriousness, to be honest with you, other than just making sure that its structure is correct and it's stays has continuity with style and how things should be structured or formatted or whatever. But like for the other devs, they had a slightly different perspective, which is perfectly fine, and I'm happy to adjust to what they want to see. But they want to have it broken down to smaller pieces, so we'll break it down to smaller pieces. That's perfectly fine.
And for those who don't know, last week we were talking with Chad Bareford. These big 46,000 lines of code, this was done in approximately 12 hours. Whereas if Chad had done this manually, and I think probably your sole focus, this would have taken you weeks, if not months, to do. Right?
Yeah, it would have been exhausting to gone through that time.
So that is just incredible exponential increase of capability, and that's for just something that just that's like that work that it's not super important, but but it's done.
Yeah, it's like not super important. It's what we call tech debt is the word we use in the industry of like you grow a debt over time of technical things that you have to go back and fix or refactor or whatever. And every code base always produces tech debt. This is nothing unique to THORChain. This is just how engineering works in general. Everything always has tech debt. And AI is like, and nobody really likes tech debt other than because it's usually just kind of painful to go back. It's like the kind of arduous, painful work that nobody really wants to do. People want to do like the fun feature stuff for the most part, right? So it's not something that gets a lot of like a lot of excitement around it. So to have Huginn be able to do that, I don't mind making Huginn a little bitch. He can do the bitch work. That's fine. I don't have a problem with making Huginn a bitch, but like. He can go through and do all that. Like he can look for that stuff where I can assign him technical debt and have him do a lot of that work, especially because like, Huginn's not great at doing big changes on its own, right? Like if you're making a huge code change in the sense of like complexity or whatever, adding a feature, for example, you don't want Huginn doing that by itself because you need a human by itself or human with an AI kind of going back and forth and kind of like playing off of each other through like a long process, right? Like I was working on a PR this morning that is like that. And you can't just, I wouldn't feel comfortable assigning Huginn by itself. You want things that Huginn can do almost in a one shot, is the phrase we use in the industry, meaning that it can do one prompt and it'll generate the correct answer the first time. Maybe it'll get it wrong the first time a little bit, and you can just put a little comment in there and it fixes it and carry on. That's the stuff that you want to assign to Huginn, not so much large, like huge features or whatever. But like this kind of stuff of like, hey, just backfill some unit tests to bring the, the whatever the coverage is now to, some larger number, doesn't matter what it is. It has the ability to go back and forth within itself to verify, oh, am I at, let's say 80% is the number we're going for, 80% coverage. Then it can see, oh, I'm not there yet. Let's add some more. What else is not being tested yet? And then just it goes back and forth within itself to find the solution that it's looking for and produce the result that it's looking for without needing a human to be involved and to tweak it and keep constantly kind of curving its path or giving it the right direction or just pushing in one direction or the other. Huginn can do that kind of stuff very effectively without human engagement, which is why I could run it for 12, 16 hours, whatever it is, while I was, sleeping at night and not really worry that I'm going to wake up tomorrow and the whole code base is going to be like tanked, burned or whatever. Like I had no concern about that. That's why I didn't mind doing it in this particular instance. So I'm going to keep on doing that and just giving Huginn more work and break it up into smaller changes to appease with the interests of the other devs on the team. But unit tests is just one thing, by the way. There's also regression tests, right? There's also simulation tests. Like there's lots of tests that we can do that Huginn can be kind of working on as one of its tasks that it achieves for the code base to bring up that quality of testing that we already have.
Would you have to have like different AIs trained for the different types of testing, or one AI can do all those 3 or 4 different tests?
Yeah, one AI can do it all. I mean, I've been considering the idea of introducing a second, of introducing like OpenAI's Codex model into the system and creating a second entity called Immunin. Is a Huginn Immunin. Immunin would be like OpenAI and Huginn would be like Anthropic's Claude, and then have these two separate entities, and then they're both doing more or less the same thing within the project, but they also have each other as a communication pipe between the two of them to like ask the other person a question or challenge each other on their findings. And because they have different models that are trained in different ways, they might have a different way of achieving the same goal or finding a way of testing this or solving this problem or finding this bug or having a different kind of set of eyes, if I can use that word, even though they don't have eyes, obviously, but like to be able to converse with each other and ask each other questions to verify each other's findings, to give even reducing false positives even more, but also introducing, a way to help when one gets stuck and can't seem to solve the problem or whatever, it could, instead of talking to me or waiting for me to be prompted, like me coming back and giving some feedback or some direction, theoretically could ask Munin or the other guy the same question, who has a different worldview that might be able to help him get beyond the issue. I think it's kind of a fascinating notion that I haven't started building quite yet, but it is like kind of the ideas I've been kind of playing with in the back of my skull.
Super cool. Super cool. Well, this guys, we always got to talk about Huginn. You know how it is. And we'll probably talk about Huginn again later on. But there is something that did happen, Chad. And I was wondering, limit swaps did get turned back on.
Before we change the AI subject, can I ask you something, Chad? So I was chatting with IBEC about STO, and I asked him, like, well, how do we make the front end like AI friendly, that bots can use it, right, and whatnot? And they've been kind of working on something where we can actually create like there's Claude bots, or right, Claude, that's what it's called, right? Claude bot, where you can make your own personal AI go do stuff. We can make like a THORChain bot where people can have like its own personal AI trading, and it would be all memoless. And but he said it's actually be relatively easy to set up, and we could have these THORChain bots. It could work in Telegram or Slack or Discord, whatever channel you want to use. I don't know what you guys think about that. If that's something we should explore, if it's something. I told him, I'm like, I'm just curious conceptually, but like don't put any work on it. But should we start working on something like this? Should we?
I have some opinions on this. Like, in general, anybody who tells me they're giving real money to a OpenClaw bot or whatever, I would advise that person to not do that unless it's like play money for you. Like you don't care if you lose it all, then that's probably fine. You're just having some fun. You know, you can put $100 in it. If you lose $100, like you're not gonna, be eating ramen every day for the next 6 months. So I would advise against it because it's just like AI models or LLMs in general are not trading tools necessarily, and I know people like to think of them as generalized artificial intelligence that can do anything, but in reality, it's like it's probably should not be used in this particular way. If I'm being honest with you. That said, people are still going to do what people are going to do. Like no one's really going to listen to me and then not trade probably to be honest with you. And so we can build that kind of stuff. So like that would be like creating like a skill, for example, would be one way of doing it, and which is just a skill would just be educating the LLM or preconditioning or pre-warming its context to understanding certain API endpoints of where it can get its data from, where it can broadcast a transaction, how that transaction should be structured, how to monitor that transaction after it's been broadcast, and so how to get the balances of your wallets, whatever that is. That can be done, and it's not like a huge amount of work. And to be honest, that could be done by somebody in the community rather than like myself or one of the other devs who are working on the core protocol. Like if there's somebody in the community that wants to build something like that, I know like Boone's been talking to me about wanting to build something and contribute to the project in one way or another, and maybe that person, he's a smart guy too, and he knows a lot about like trading, I think. So maybe he'd be a good person for this kind of thing. But yes, you could totally like build that kind of stuff. It's not even hard, and I don't think you need to do anything special to the swap interface, because it's just going to be doing what humans do, right? Like that's all these LMs do. They read like as we read, they use UIs as we use UIs, they use CLIs as we use CLIs, so forth and so on. So I don't think we need to do anything special necessarily. We just need to have a document that just informs the context of like where the APIs are, how to query them, how to broadcast transactions, how to check statuses, how to check wallet balances, all that kind of stuff, which is not, it's not a lot of work or that difficult to do. And we could just open source it and say, hey, if you want to start trading, with THORChain, blah, 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 with your OpenClaw bot or whatever it is, you can totally do that. Here's how to do it.
Cool. Okay, cool. But yeah, I agree with you.
I
Like it's not up to us to pass judgment on people's trading habits or what they do. We just want them to trade through us. Whatever you're buying or
Yeah.
selling, however you're doing it, that's up to you. Just put the trade through THORChain. Sorry.
Give us your fees.
Yeah, exactly.
No, Kenton, you messed me up, Kenton, because I was trying to do a little self-help by trying to get away from Huginn because I'm addicted to talking about it. But see, now I thought of something, so now I have to ask Chad more about Huginn. So, Chad, a new version of Cloud went live. I saw they were saying now it does like well, you use it for this purpose as it is, but it's like official, like this is now going to audit code. Have you already implemented that update, if you know what I'm talking about?
The newest versions of Claude itself?
Yeah. Yes, I believe that's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, the way the system is kind of designed that every time I deploy a code change of Huginn's code, a new version of Claude comes inherently with it. So it's always on the edge. It's always on the edge of whatever the official release of Claude code actually is, or whatever the model is. It should pick up the most recent model whenever it drops naturally.
That's right, because you said that it doesn't store experience, right? It's just always, it's a new fresh version of Huginn every time it comes at something. That's right. Interesting.
Well, it's more complicated than that. I mean, like Huginn runs within a Docker container to isolate it from the rest of the computers, because I don't want Huginn doing anything crazy. It's like I contain Huginn in a kind of container to make sure that he doesn't do anything destructive. But that container gets rebuilt every time a new code change happens, which includes building the Claude code version that is installed within the container that Huginn's operating within. So that's a natural thing to happen, that every time I make a code change of any kind and redeploy it, it also redeploys with a new version of Claude.
How do you it's probably a difficult question. How do you think about allocating your time? Like if you have a version of Huginn that looks at the entire code base of THORChain, do you try that whole same thing in on the very next version of like of a Cloud version? Like how do you prioritize like what should Huginn recheck given it may have new capabilities? Or is there just so much that it's just, you just go in a big giant loop the whole time?
It's a big giant loop. It takes like 2 weeks for Huginn to crawl through the entire code base. So the style, if you want to call it, or architecture, if you want to call it, design, I don't know what language you want to use, to get Huginn to do the code review effectively, there's a bunch of things that happens, but one of those things is what I call folder, file, and function, which is basically meaning like if you ask Huginn or Claude or whatever to, here's a big giant code base with, hundreds of thousands of lines of code in it, find me some bugs. It doesn't know where to look. It's obviously like huge amounts of code, and every time you ask that question, it'll probably find some different issue that it didn't find the previous time, because it's the way that it functions. And so it doesn't know to look wide or look narrow or anything of these things. So it starts in one attempt, it looks at like everything, and then the next attempt, which is like 15 minutes later, it looks at one directory, and then it looks at one file within that directory, then it looks at one function within that file. And so it's starting very large and broad in its search, and then it narrows down into like a small little like function, and it looks for that any problems within that particular function. So it looks very narrowly and looks very broad, and then it knows like how things connect across these kind of layers, if you want to call it that. I'm not sure what to call it, but it does that on its own, so that it can find problems on the minuscule, but also on the grand kind of layers abstraction as well. In theory, that's how it should work, and it's been working fairly well so far. And it's found like hundreds of issues that are mostly just very small, like not meaningful issues, and like it doesn't actually cause any real problems. Theoretically, on paper, it could, but the chances of that happening are near nil. But it's still good to patch it anyways,
Yeah, well, I mean, the proof's in the pudding. Last update was 96 PRs, and I think you said we're already up to like 50 or something right now, and we're not. Yeah, it's crazy. So, Kenton, did you have anything else you want to add to this before I?
Yeah, maybe just a follow up. I can't remember where you said it, Chad, or maybe if you wrote it in Discord, I can't remember. But are other people are using AI to audit THORChain and submitting bug bounties, and I mean, you've noticed an uptick in that. And are these? What are the quality of those reports? Like, are they actually finding like some good stuff and is valid and you need to fix? And I'm
the vast majority are very, very small, right? Like, and the bounties we're giving out to the vast majority of those people are small little bounties that are really just kind of like a thanks for trying in some ways. Um, it does seem that people are trying to, use Claude or Codex or one of these things to generate a lot of money for themselves. Well, not for all of them, but some of them would generate a lot of money for us without doing any actual work. We actually changed our bug bounty policy, and partly because of this. Just because the market has changed, how things work has changed. I think at some point in time, the bug bounty will probably maybe even go away, possibly because of this. Like, I read recently that Firefox, I think it was Firefox, did a beta program with Anthropic of their new security code review product. They haven't released yet. It's like in this like pre-trial phase or whatever. And their system had found 5 severe exploits into Mozilla's Firefox browser, which was 1/5 of all of the exploits discovered in the last, like, I don't know, 2 years or something like this. Like, and AI did that. So it's like the industry is changing and shifting in a way that like the way you find these bug bounties is also structurally changing, as well as the way that I code is structurally changing as well. And if you are a security researcher, your job just got a lot easier, but really it got a lot harder, because I have access to those tools as the developer behind a code base, and I am actively using those, those tools to do so, which means that your job to find a security hole that I can't find or haven't found just became a little bit of a smaller kind of hole to hit, a smaller bullseye on the bullseye board, so to speak, on the dartboard. So I think this is kind of bad news in some ways for security researchers as well, because now you have to be cream of the crop in order to make any kind of like reasonable wage in this industry, I think. But we'll see how things move over the next 5 years, but like everything's shifting, everything's changing. I mean, it's changing incredibly fast. Even if it doesn't change any more from how it's changed right now, it still affects everything in such drastic nature of how technology works. And it's, I don't know, it's hard to explain that in a way that makes sense, because I've never seen this. I'm 43 years old. I've never seen a transformation like this in technologies, other than maybe the closest thing would be like the internet itself, right? That would be the closest analogy, and I would argue it's not as big or as important as what AI is doing for the world.
Yeah. So then that sounds good to me. It sounds like good news. So like you and Huginn are finding this stuff, being proactive. What's coming from these bug bounties is like so like minor stuff. So then, and we've had, knock on wood, we have nothing has happened. So like nothing negative has happened, no exploits. So it's like we're staying ahead of the curve, right?
Yeah.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah, there was actually early this year, back in early January, we had a bug report of a potential way of like exploiting funds out of the network. And we already were, there was like a two-parter to this thing. We were already aware of one of the two parts, and you need both parts in order to be able to extract funds. We were already aware of the first part because Huginn had found one of the two parts itself. I think like 5 days prior, like down like that kind of level. So like that's like a really great example of like there was a real exploit here that could have, it could have led to like lost funds. Very hard to actually execute in reality, but theoretically on paper it would work. But we were already aware of it, and we were already actively patching it by the time this person had, submitted this issue, which, but like again, was an actual real severe, like, P I would consider to be a P0 exploit. But we were already aware of it, and we saved the Treasury, I'm probably close to hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not close to $1 million in bug bounty payouts, because we were already aware of it. We already had Huginn as a reporter, reporting it, 5 days prior, right?
Nice.
You saved the Treasury that money, Chad, because you're the one that started the Huginn, right? Like you jumped on this right away. So
Yes.
I don't want you to be shy about this. This was you saving this protocol money. So shout out to you, good sir. Like that is so awesome.
I'm happy to save the protocol some money, or the Treasury more accurately, but like, because that Treasury's got to last for as long as we can make it last for. We have to be as fiscally responsible as we can, and that goes back to what we were talking with Kenton earlier about shelling out money to all these different data networks or whatever, which they're all great in a sense, but then we also have to think about what is the long term position of that Treasury, how long do we have to make it work, and what income can it make, and all that kind of stuff. That's a bigger question that's outside the confines of this conversation, though.
Yeah, it is a big conversation.
May-
Kenton,
may-
do we have anything else go ahead?
No, I was maybe to add to that, just to kind of remind the audience my strategy, the way I was approaching like these token terminal, these other data platforms, how to prioritize it. When do we actually pull the trigger? So the way I viewed it is we prioritize getting users, prioritize getting volume, and that'll help drive up the room price. And that's the best marketing for investors you can ask for, is your token price going up. And because and then with that increase in volume, increased token price, then we have more money in the marketing fund. We have more funds to allocate to stuff like this. And then when we actually go to investors to tell them about THORChain, they see growth. They see performance in room price. They see growth in all the metrics on THORChain. And that's what investors need to see. When they see everything flatlining or trending down, that's what they project into the future, right? We need them to see metrics going up, so they project that into the future, and they calculate all this blue sky, and that's when they justify buying or paying more than the current price. So if we spend all this money to go for investors to buy Rune today, fine, it might work, but it could just be a flash in the pan. Maybe we get a blip in the price. We don't have any growth. Nothing is changing. Investors get impatient, and then they sell and leave. So we spend all this money and time getting investors just for them to turn around and sell 6 months or year later because we're not growing. So I feel pretty strongly that we gotta focus on growth, get users, and because users don't care about Rune or the Rune price or even THORChain in general, right? They just want easy place to swap. So that should be an easier sell. It should be easier for us to get users and volume, get that going, and then we can focus more on trying to get investors. So yeah, just to help add to that, how I'm thinking about it, prioritizing it.
Sounds solid to me. Sounds solid to
Yeah.
me. Well, you guys, should we transition? Limit swaps did go live. Should we transition to that now?
Sure. I mean, not much to talk about other than just being flipped back on. There was a bug relating. I don't. I don't remember what the bug was. I vaguely remember it not even being about limit swaps, but it affected limit swaps or something like this. But that's flipped back on. People are welcome to start trading again and with that kind of thing if they want to. Although I don't think a lot of people are because there's no UIs that actually support it quite yet. One thing that Kenton's team might be interested in
It,
working on at some point.
it's there. You can do limit swaps.
Oh, you can.
Yep. And you can set a custom date or custom time for when you want it to expire now. But there's one bug on the UI that your actual limit price, it's really buggy on actually entering the number, the amount.
Mm.
So I mean, you can eventually get the number you want, but it's just not. There's something wrong, and
Yeah.
they're playing with it, trying to fix it. So be patient with us there, guys. But you can enter limit orders on STO.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do
Very
that.
good.
I'm experimenting with that later today. Well, so okay, limit orders is one part of it, but then people want to know, what about rapid swaps, right? So maybe
Yep.
we go to there. What's that? Where are we looking on that front?
Yeah, I think we're gonna probably flip that live on like Monday or Tuesday, I think. We'll make it so that a rapid swap value of 2, which basically means it won't do more than 2 swaps in a single block for any given trade. So we're just turning on to like the smallest number possible to start. I actually want to spend this weekend putting together some like tools to help me monitor the specific feature on live on the mainnet protocol to make sure things are moving in the direction that it should be moving and there's no issues whatsoever. But that's when we flip to 2 to start, and then if everything's going well, after like a week or so or whatever, we'll flip it up to a higher number, and the higher number just means the number of trades, sub swaps that a single swap can do within a single block, right? So if the number's at 2, you can, instead of doing 1 swap per block, you're doing 2 swaps per block, which also means like the time that it takes to do your trade is now halved, right? It's like it's one half. And if you do the 3, it's 1/3, 1/4, it's 1/4, 5, it's 1/5, so forth and so on. So you can really speed up the swap speed of streaming swaps done like a lot quicker, right? And as we increase this number, the quotes endpoint would also be updated, which means that's informing SwapKit of its like kind of analysis of what is the efficiency of these trades in terms of like price performance and time of execution. And our time of execution will naturally, get quicker and quicker and quicker, which means we'll be more and more competitive against, other chain flips and nears and whatever else is in SwapKit world. And so we'll, especially for like larger trades, like if you're doing like a $10 trade, doesn't really, rapid swaps isn't really gonna help you much. But if you're doing like $1 million trade, it's going to significantly help you, in that way. Or even at like $50,000 is going to significantly help you. So we'll start getting, I think, more of the larger trades in bidding against other dexes out there. At least I hope that's the intention, at least, and we get a little bit more volume coming in.
How will
That's
this
incredible.
work alongside batched transactions? Will they work well together? Are they kind of two totally separate
What do you
things?
mean by batch
Well,
transactions?
with so for Bitcoin, for example, so like we're gonna do, instead of each Bitcoin trade being an individual Bitcoin transaction on the Bitcoin blockchain network, we're gonna take let's say 10 Bitcoin trades, combine that into one transaction on the Bitcoin blockchain network.
Oh, on the outbound, you mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Batch outbound is something we've been
Sorry,
talking
batched
about for a
outbound.
while.
Sorry.
Yeah. And there's actually 4 PRs that are open right now to enable this feature or get this feature kind of like, it hasn't even hit the mainnet quite yet. But yes, the intention of that is that when we send out 10 Bitcoin transactions, because a bunch of people swap 2 Bitcoin, and instead of sending one transaction for each of those 10, so doing 10 signatures on 10 different transactions within one block or many blocks on the Bitcoin blockchain, it does it as a batch and as a batch outbound. So we sign one signature for all 10. Well, technically it's not one signature. Technically it's like the number, however number of UTXOs you're signing to create the however number of outputs. Bitcoin's unique in terms of how it's got VINs and VN outs and all these things, but that's getting probably too much in the weeds. But the point is that like the TSS threshold signatures that we have, they can do less signatures to have the same amount of outputs, meaning that the throughput of how fast our outbound signing can happen basically increases to, I don't want to say infinite because that's probably not like mathematically correct, but like as we can sign as fast as the Bitcoin blockchain can take effectively. Right. And it's also like it's more gas efficient. So you'll be consuming less gas, which makes our trading a little bit more, a little bit more competitive in that sense. But it also means that like our transactions will be more likely to be picked up because it's putting a lot more value in a smaller amount of space. So the sats per byte or whatever it is would be naturally probably a little bit higher, which is good for a mining perspective because the miners like high sats per byte because they make more money that direction. So our transactions would probably be picked up easier or faster than what it is today, which is obviously also beneficial in that sense as well.
So how will batched outbounds work with rapid swaps? Will there be any synergies between them, or are they going to be kind of two totally separate?
They're two totally separate things that they both optimize individually of each other to find the most optimal way of batching or of rapid swapping. Like they will just naturally each figure out what is the most effective or efficient way that I can achieve the most amount of throughput in the least amount of time. They're both like that, but the one's about TSS signing and one's about like swaps and trades.
Okay. So the batched outbounds, that's not necessarily making anything faster. It's just making it more efficient.
Yeah, it's
okay.
probably not going to, like, you're not going to get your trade back faster because of it, unless we have some sort of giant backlog of Bitcoin transactions or something like this, which we don't generally see much anymore, partly because the markets, we're not trading as much as we used to trade because the market's just kind of down and there's more competition. You can argue that. But there are scenarios where like we had problems in the earlier years about TSS getting kind of out of sync with each other and then not being able to sign because they couldn't quite get into a place where they all kind of agree or what they're signing on or how they're going to sign in or whatever. There's a couple of scenarios where that was like broken years ago. So we haven't seen like a buildup in the outbound kind of like, queue, if you want to call it that, in quite a while. But it's just there to make sure that even if we were to see a buildup, we can sign things as fast as possible and clear that outbound queue, because that also generally can affect arbitrage as well, because arbitrage needs to get their money into the system, back out, and then trade through some other like DEX or SEX or something like this, and you want their money to come out as fast as possible so they can put it back into the system. And that does actually affect rapid swaps, because the faster that arbs can get their money in, correct the price, out, back through, around, back and around, the faster they can do this loop, the more efficient rapid swaps or the more value rapid swaps will provide to the community, and the faster you can get your trades pushed to the network.
Cool. So it's like eating healthy, exercising, getting sleep. It all comes together. It all is a big holistic thing.
They always relate in some sense or form.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit indirectly in some cases.
Nice.
Well, that was big breaking news, you guys. Now, again, let Chad have some leeway here with time frames, of course, but potentially rapid swaps could be turned on Monday, Tuesday at the lowest value, but even at the lowest value, it will reduce a streaming swap time by 50%.
Yeah.
That sounds like a pretty big deal to me. I don't know, you guys, but I love it. It's fantastic. Kenton, were you trying to say something?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. I was going to say one caveat is, in order for it to do that too or whatever, it needs arbs to arb. and I'm not sure what time frame arbs are going to start arbing on the rapid swaps kind of like level, right? Like they need to figure out, arbs got to figure out, how do I arb something that is trading multiple times in a single block? They got to figure that out, which you could use limit swaps to achieve that goal. That's one way of achieving that goal. You could do it through a streaming swap in the opposite direction. That would also achieve the same thing. Each arb manufacturer, bot thing, whatever, is going to figure out their own kind of thing. And they're going to figure it out because they kind of have to, because if they don't figure it out, somebody else will. And if they're figuring it out, then you're going to lose out money as an arb bot. So you have to, like, in order to be competitive, you've got to come with the protocol in this sense.
Ruthless meritocracy just makes me feel so warm and buttery on the inside, you guys. I love that so much. Where you just put people in a you know, you give everyone a butter knife and you say, figure it out. The best man wins. You know what I mean?
Two men enter, one man leaves.
Well, my point is that the feature will probably turn on next week. It may not be like activated within the network. I mean, I don't know how to phrase this without sounding like an idiot, but like we need arbs to do their job in order for it to work, to do its job, right? And so whatever time frame it takes arbs to kind of catch up to the network, that's when you start to see it actually take effect.
So the ultimate thing is the first arb to really figure this out, they win objectively, right? Just 100%.
Yeah, first arb, they're going to make they're probably going to make a lot of money the first arb to figure this out, because they're going to be arbing half the trades effectively, automatically. In some sense, and so that would be very profitable in that scenario. So first arb to figure it out, and it's gonna be great. And then the other arbs, they're gonna notice like their income just like dropped off a cliff, and they're like, what happened to my income? And then they gotta like go back to the drawing board and be competitive.
You guys are watching this right now. The recording that if you've got a friend, they're an arbitrager, you show them this segment. You tell them you best be ready for Monday or Tuesday, because it's gonna get real. It's going to get real, 100%. I love this so much.
Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought you mentioned in the past that you wanted the arbs to start playing with limit orders a bit more and seeing some more depth in the limit orders before turning on rapid swaps. Did you say that? And if you did, are you seeing that kind of depth? Are you seeing the arbs starting to use limit orders?
So we've seen some arbs use limit orders in the context of like stable to stable, because it's very easy. You can set that up and forget it and walk away, because the pricing between those two stables to stables is the same, and so it's easy to set that up. Going across non-stable to non-stable is a little more complicated. We haven't seen a lot of that yet, and I was waiting for that to go with the streaming rapid swaps, because I want to make sure there was liquidity. Like I wanted to give the arbs there first and then turn on the rapid swaps, and now I'm kind of saying the opposite. And the reason why is because I had made some improvements to the rapid swaps kind of logic, so that it should be able to handle the situation where arbs aren't there and not kind of screw over the users a little bit, or like give them a slightly worse, by screw over I mean slightly worse trade. It should be smart enough, I believe, hopefully, if everything works the way I think it should work, should be able to just not use rapid swaps. And the analogy I have is that like, if it's kind of like rapid swaps becomes like an escalator, that when the escalator like can't do what the escalator is supposed to do, it just becomes stairs, right? And so it still works. You can go up get up to the second floor of the mall, whatever, just by walking up to the escalator. But like, you want the escalator to be, pulling you up to the second floor. And so there was a code change that I hadn't thought of in my first kind of go around, that I thought about later, and I realized later we can make it more efficient in this like logic sense. So I believe it's safe to turn it on without having the arbs there, and it won't affect swappers in any kind of measurable way, at least to the best of my knowledge. And then when arbs start like arbing within that, then it should start to like naturally, the escalator will turn on in a matter of speaking.
Okay, well, we do have a question exactly on this topic. I'm going to put it on screen now. They want to, when rapid swaps are fully working, how will they affect big swaps and all swaps in general?
Yeah, so big swaps. So we had a really big swap last month. It was like $32 million or something like this. It's obviously a mega large trade. From memory, I think it took about 12 hours for that streaming swap to go through, right? That's, I think that's pretty good, to be honest with you. Like 12 hours is pretty, like that's not too crazy considering the $30 million, like that's an enormous trade, But that said, depending upon how fast arbs can arb, that would be executed a lot faster. Like theoretically, it could be executed in an hour, right, rather than 12 hours if arbs are arbing. If the value is at 2, what we were talking about, it would go from 12 hours to 6 hours. If it's at 3, 6 hours to 4 hours, instead of 5, so forth and so on. And so it can scale, but the question that again becomes down to like are arbs arbing, in that time frame. So it's more a measurement of how fast arbs can get money into the system to correct the price, and then go get their other asset back, whatever it is, through a DEX or a SEX, whatever the time that takes, bring it back into the network, and then correct the price again, and just do that kind of arbing loop that they tend to do. However fast they can do that is however fast that trade would execute.
Yeah, well, this is the perfect incentive. When you have the incentive is making money, like they're gonna figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to be as quick as possible, because the
Right.
faster you move, the more money you make. Because if you're not fast, somebody else is going to be a little bit faster, right? And so you want to be as fast as possible. It'd really, and you want to have a lot of liquidity. Like the more liquidity you have as an arb, the more money you're going to make, right? If you only got $100,000 of arbing dollars, or you got $1 million in arbing dollars, you got more wiggle room in this sense, and you could arb in increments of $1 million versus arbing in increments of $100,000. That's a big difference, right? And so there's competition there in the free market for people to be as fast and efficient as possible to execute these trades as fast as the liquidity will be, provided by
Right.
the arbitrage bots.
Yeah, and to take a step back, just for the general audience, for those who may be not super familiar with THORChain, like from day one, THORChain's design, we have wanted to be the economic infrastructure of the world that allows people to swap assets in a seamless, efficient process, right? When we first started in 2021, none of this stuff existed. Streaming swaps, none of this stuff. It was you had a swap and you traded against the depth of the pool, and there was a slippage fee, right? That's how it worked. And you'd have to do lots of small swaps to avoid the slippage. All of that stuff is completely fixed, right? And so I think this is really going to be a turning point with just the efficacy, the efficiency of THORChain. It's such an exciting time. I am very looking forward to Monday or Tuesday. So I'm fingers crossed it works well, and arbs figure it out. I'm rooting for the arbs. I really am. Despite me playfully saying, take a butter knife and kill each other. I mean it. You guys, you do a very important job. Without you, THORChain does not run correctly. Right. So I'm very excited.
Well, without all of the
Yes.
users, right? Everyone plays off each
Yes.
other, right?
Sure, of course.
It's this nice, beautiful
It's
balance.
an ecology in a sense, right?
Yeah. But it's like you mentioned the streaming swaps didn't exist before, Denny. Like when they came out, was it 2023, right? The fall of 2023?
No, earlier. I think it was
2022,
I think.
Fall of 22.
Yeah.
And I think even, you correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, but like I think you guys, when you guys created streaming swaps, you weren't sure like how they were going to work, and it ended up being huge. We got the volume took off, and it's like, holy smokes, this is a bigger deal than we thought.
Night and day.
Yeah,
that was a huge deal. That changed. Like I remember some of the devs at the time were saying that they weren't a fan of streaming swaps because we would never see a trade over $10,000 anyway, right? And here we are with a $32 million trade or multiple $30 million trades just a month ago.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that person was not correct in their in their predictions.
So
that was a huge change to get that to work, and to get the math to work. I remember I was where was I at the time? I think I was in some foreign country. I was actually in grabbing lunch at some sandwich shop, and it must have been in like, I want to say South America. I feel like it was. I can't remember exactly where it was. And I was like trying to think about the mathematics of how to get this thing to work, because we wanted to make sure that like we could set a number of basis points, right? Of like 10 basis points, whatever. But basis points is very like dynamic in the sense of like it depends on where you're coming from and where you're going to. Like the size of the pool is highly depending on how much you pay in fees, right? That's like a direct relationship. So how do you calculate it so that if you're going from Bitcoin to a stable coin, or some small cap to a large cap, or any permutation of two pool sizes, how do you calculate the size of the trade it has to be to go from the small pool to the big pool to the small pool, or any permutation, and still always pay the same BIP, no matter what size of the trade versus the size of the pools? Like, that was actually a really kind of a interesting, like, mathematical question that it took me about a week and a half to figure out. How do I mathematically explain this in a way that it gives me exact precision? And that took quite a while to kind of reverse engineer that mathematics to figure that out. But that was like a very fun challenge for me, at least from a.
Do you think sorry to bring it back to AI, do you think you could use AI to help you with that today? Or that would still,
That's a
like, you
good
still need
question.
a human. You still need to sit there and think about it and figure it out.
I don't know, to be honest. Probably like, I've heard stories about. I heard a story recently of a woman who was a very great mathematician, very well established, smart woman, and she had a paper that she had written, and there was some major component of her paper that she had published 2 years ago that was incorrect, and the AI was saying, "Nope, I'm sorry, like, this thing is wrong," right? And she was like, "No way, chat, you're wrong, chat. This is good. This blah 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 blah." And she argued with it for some period of time, and thankfully the AI's tendency for sycophancy didn't click in or something like this. But like, and she realized that, no, actually, right. Like, I had to what's the right word? I had to repeal my thing. There's a terminology for it, but like, I had to retract my original thing and then modify it as soon as I learned that my math was wrong in this paper, right? So I don't know if it would or not, and it's kind of hard to test it now because now the math exists.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
technically, like it's probably already been trained on the math that I had invented for this particular thing. It's been in the code since 2022. And so if I were to ask the question now and say, "Hey, chat, like, try to solve this problem," it does solve it. I'm not sure if it solved it because it just learned it from my code that I wrote years ago, or if it actually did it independently on its own. Because it's probably like, what I wrote is a decent chance that it's actually in the model itself, I would think, at least. All these things that we write on Reddit is part of that, So I don't know. It could do it, and the part of me is happy that it wasn't there because I enjoyed the challenge of it, and there was kind of a fun little mathematical experimentation and trial and error and figure out how do I exactly encapsulate this behavior mathematically. And so I'm actually happy that it didn't exist at the time. So it gave me the fun challenge, and I was able to figure it out in the end.
Nice.
But like, it is pretty interesting to see that kind of how that's going to change in the future. Because if it did exist in the time, like the ChatGPT did exist at that time, then I definitely would have used it because, I don't know, it's easier, and I wouldn't have the satisfaction of solving the problem on my own.
Oh yeah, it's true. Well, that reminds me of a lot of, so when chess engines came out, Stockfish and others, really advanced chess engines, very powerful. They had these old models in chess, and they were long established, like, this is 100% a draw, or this is losing for black in these many moves, right? And then when they threw Stockfish, these engines at them, it says, "No, actually, that's not." And I remember one, I'm not gonna remember what it was, but it was the exact opposite. This is winning for black. This is fork checkmate and 8, you idiot. Like, and because the computer is just so much more powerful, less computationally, that
Right.
they could figure out this really just incredible sequence, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I'm not
Yep.
surprised.
There's a great example of that for like AlphaGo. Go is like kind of a Othello-like game if you're familiar with it. It's popular in Asian countries, but it's a very complicated game, and historically we've always believed that AI would never play this game because the number of permutations that Go can be played is astronomically large versus chess. It's actually relatively small. And so AlphaGo was playing the world's best Go player in the world, and AlphaGo made a really bad move. At least that was the consensus. And he made this really huge blunder, and the entire Go world that was watching the show, like watching this performance, was like, "Oh my god, that was the dumbest move ever! Like, what the hell was AlphaGo thinking? Oh my god, this is the end! Like, he just lost the game." And the opponent, who's actually like the greatest player in the world, he was just like, he kind of looked at it like, he kind of had this like facial expression of like, "I don't know what to make of this. This is like shocking and surprising, and nobody would ever made this move." And it ended up being a brilliant move in the the human player lost to AlphaGo in that case. Because they're just thinking on a different like scale than you and I are thinking, when we think about these kind of games. So you never know what AI is thinking when it does what it does, and sometimes it looks like it's a really dumb or stupid move to your black comparison, and
Right.
sometimes it's like, actually no, there's something more deeply happening underneath the sheets here that you just aren't able to even acknowledge or see quite yet. It's
Yeah.
astounding.
And it's found out, chess puzzles that were once like unsolvable. It finds answers to chess puzzles that once. It's just, you're right. It's absolutely incredible. It's
Yeah.
so, and it's so entertaining. I mean, it just shows you how limited we are and how much powerful AI is.
Chad,
Did you?
We're all cooked.
Chad, I remember you saying once, didn't you spend like 6 months working on a math problem was considered unsolvable, and you just did it for like
Yes.
the fun of it? And
Yeah.
have you tried plugging that math problem in AI?
I haven't, but
you don't want to know
I
if it
have
can get
not.
the answer, right?
Maybe I should just for giggles. There was two that I was trying to solve. One was around something called P equals NP. I can go into detail if you're curious. And then one was compressing data without using patterns, right? And that's like every form of data compression we use, whether it be zips or video compressions. It's always just taking like a pattern that's in like a bunch of different, like in an image. It's easier. There's a big like black area, in your image. It can just represent that in a smaller amount of data. But like to compress data without having anything to any pattern to compress on has been like an open challenge for decades now, about anybody who can figure out how to compress data without using a pattern. And yeah, I have worked on that for months, trying to figure out ways of achieving that goal. Like knowing that like nobody solved this problem, and honestly, nobody probably will solve this problem, because I think it is probably impossible. And the way that it's impossible is that like, if it was true, that means you could compress any data, and then once it's compressed, you could compress it again and again and again and again and again and again. And the idea that you can put like the entire internet onto like a floppy disk, 1988 floppy disk, would be theoretically possible if somebody actually did solve this. But obviously that sounds ridiculous, that you could store the entire internet on a 1.44 megabyte floppy disk from like 1987 or something like that. But that's the reason why you kind of know that it's not going to work. But it's still like a fun problem. Like how could you achieve this? Like it just kind of teases your brain in a way that you just get to kind of run down different roads, and then you naturally just learn why the idea you had doesn't work, which in itself is a fun experience of like, oh, that's why this whole thing doesn't work. It's because of this, that, and the other thing. Now I know more. Let's try it again.
Sounds good. We have an audience question here. I guess right now we're in the middle of a churn, and we have a vault that is stuck. How do we fix that problem? I don't know if you're aware of that, Chad, but go ahead.
Yeah, we get these from time to time. And to be honest, I don't even really know what the cause is. It's because it's just so minute. I think it's probably just like some sort of gas thing relating like of some minor detail. Every once in a long while, what happens is the wallet has, let's call it like 10 tokens, and we think the wallet has 11 tokens, right? Like and so we try to churn and move 11 tokens from a wallet that only has 10, and lo and behold, the broadcast transaction fails because we don't have enough money. I'm using 10 and 11. That's not accurate. But reality is, it's like today, it's Litecoin, and it's like 0.00029700. That's how many tokens we're talking about. So it's like you're talking about 3 cents, 3 pennies worth of Litecoin token that we think there's slightly more than there actually is. And so you fix that just by like, you just donate some 3 cents worth of Litecoin into the pool, and then into the vault more accurately, and it fixes. But I've always gotten like a little bit of annoyed by these things. It's just like a little bit of noise that comes up every once in a long while. And so I actually have a PR that I opened up. I think it's called, let me see, I have it here actually, 4628. That just the network will start to record from the solvency checker like the state of the wallets. So now the network's going to know, store in its KV store at least, the state of the wallets, like how much the wallet says we have for all of our vaults of all these coins, of all these tokens or whatever. And then we can compare like what the vault thinks what the wallet says, and then compare those two things. And if they're like, out of bounds by like, $10, something minusculely small that doesn't really matter, then just go ahead and fix the vault. Just take it down from 11 coins to 10 coins, and then unblock ourselves. So hopefully with this change, hopefully get merged into 3.17 in the next release, we should probably never see one of these stuck churns ever again in theory, and we can just have more reliable churns in that particular sense. In general, like I think one of the things I want to do as I'm taking a stronger leadership role within the team is that I want to be better about how we maintain mainnet and track like issues that we see, whether it be like a stuck trade or a churn that got stuck, or vaults, or Gaia right now is behind the tip right now because 25 nodes haven't updated to version 27 of Gaia. Just like track these things more accurately, and then do what I call the 5 whys. Not I call it, it's a real thing called the 5 whys. If you don't know what that is, there's a Wikipedia page on it. I think it was started by Honda in the 80s. And it's this really interesting idea of like how you deal with problems, and that is whenever you have an issue, like in our case, it's like a stuck churn, you ask the question why 5 times in a row, and then you figured out what the root cause of the whole problem is, and then you can fix that, and then you cascadely fix a bunch more issues that you didn't even know that you were even dealing with at that particular time, or could happen at that particular time. So I want to start doing those kind of 5 whys as a part of all of our mainnet related problems or issues or things that kind of come up. So we do better root cause analysis and we patch things more effectively rather than like on the surface layer going 5 layers. There you go. You found it. 5 layers why. You go 5 layers kind of down. So we have a better way of approaching problems that we see on mainnet to solve them in a more permanent or more substantial way, if you want to call it that.
So
Yeah, here's a
Chad,
good example.
we got a follow-up question. Why are we out by 3 cents or $3 or whatever? If everything is on the blockchain, everything's exact and perfect, how do we end up with these minute discrepancies?
Right, that's a good question. To be honest, I don't know. I think the reason why is some sort of like gas is used a little bit differently, or like off by like a couple sats, in a literal sense. I actually don't know the reason why this is. I've looked into the past. It's a really like deep-seated issue that's really, really complicated, that's hard to find. And because the problem is so small, like 3 cents, don't think it's really worth my time or energy to dive really too deep into it, which is why it's easier just to solve it kind of like, all right, if we're off by 3 cents, who cares? We'll just, satisfy and move on. But my belief is, my first thought at least, although like maybe I should ask like Huginn to do it. Maybe Huginn. Maybe I should just get Huginn on it.
So I was thinking the whole time. Said perfect.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that
Huginn,
until just now.
Why did this happen, Huginn?
Why did this
Tell me.
happen, Huginn? Get off your lazy ass. You 0 to 1 prick. I think it's because of how gas is consumed and how sometimes there can be a little bit of discrepancy between what one node experiences versus another. That might be it. I don't know for sure, to be honest with you, and I've just never prioritized it to look into the depths of it, and neither has any other devs because you're still dealing with this issue 5-6 years later. But maybe I'll just throw it on into a prompt for Huginn to kind of like churn on it overnight and experiment, and maybe Huginn will find like the root cause of it. But that's like a great, like that goes back to the 5 whys I was just talking about. Like we have a churn, like we should go to the 5 whys to like, where did that 0.0002 Litecoin tokens go?
And we're always short, right? The pool is always short a little bit versus.
It could probably happen the other way around as well. Maybe like we're also oversolvent by some amount, but when we're oversolvent, we don't really have an issue because we're oversolvent.
So when we're oversolvent, the vault will still churn, but then does that mean that little bit that we're over, does that get left behind? Or so then wait a minute. So what about this $3 million of crypto in the pools that's been collected over time?
That's a different thing. So that's like observing the inbound of a transaction and then adding that let's just call it like half a Bitcoin into the vault, like we now know that it's there, and we can, next time we churn, we'll churn it. But if something happens on the layer 1 of Litecoin that doesn't get observed, like maybe the gas is a little like off by a couple sats or something like this, right? I mean, that shouldn't be the case because we're observing the amount of gas as well, but there must be something weird happening on the layer 1 that I'm just not quite aware of. That if we don't inform THORChain of that, whatever that over surplus, then yes, it gets left behind. And if you go through every vault THORChain's ever had, all the addresses we've ever had, you might find some kind of like a little bit of dust here, a little bit of dust there. I mean, you're probably not going to find like $100,000 unless there was like, if you go far, like far enough back into like 2021 days, like that's possible because it's early and we're still working out issues and whatever. And $100,000 is a lot more money now than it was back then. Or back then it was probably like, $500 or whatever the number is. But I don't know for certain, but when we're over solving, we're off by 3 cents in the positive, we would just go ahead and keep churning. It wouldn't be an issue.
Okay, so it's more reason for you to kind of try and, well, I guess it's such a small dollar amount, doesn't matter. But if you sit in this PR, let's say it's over $10, then what happens? Then there's a notification or there's some alert or
the network doesn't churn. Basically, it doesn't correct the vault, and the network doesn't churn like it does now. And then, then humans have to come in and evaluate. But like, I don't think I've ever seen it larger than like $1.20. I think it's the largest I can recall in history.
Okay.
Off of my memory. Like it's
I don't
very
remember
small.
the height. Yeah, it's tiny.
It's never large. It's usually only like 9 cents or 10 cents, something incredibly small, which is why like I don't really. It never got prioritized as like a top task to fix. But for me at this point, I want to be as efficient as possible, and because I'm adding new staff. I hired 2 new devs, for example, and I don't want to get distracted anymore by mainnet issues as little as possible. And so I'm changing my worldview on this in the sense of like, it's not so much the 3 cents that's the problem. It's the distraction of my time that's the problem, of trying to solve this 3 cent issue that we have today. And I'd rather just get it solved so that every time this happens, it just saves me 5 minutes or 10 minutes of my time to actually go back and solve it. It should churn now. Like to my knowledge, it's got the no op thing to donate this LTC coin. So if it hasn't already churned now, it should do it. But like I'm just reprioritizing my time because I'm just so much stricter on my time because I'm getting more into biz dev. I'm getting more into product management. I'm getting into like just my time's getting even more stretched at this point, to be honest with you. And so I'm trying to not fill it with bullshit like 3 cents problems or whatever. But it's also the same thing with like stuck churns. Like we added new logic to the code where if a churn can't be, a swap happens, but for whatever reason we can't send the outbound, right? We've seen that with like Tron, or I think it was, or AVAX. I can't remember which one. I think it was Tron, where like there was something of the deposits were like turned off for that wallet somehow or some way or something like this, and we just couldn't send it money for some fucking weird reason. So we now have logic that like, well, we can't complete the swap, so we're going to do a reverse swap. Take the Tron we were going to send you, put it back through the system, and swap back to the original, Bitcoin you gave us, and then send the Bitcoin back to your layer 1, Bitcoin address. So that would have been another like incident in some sense, and would have required a bunch of engineers to come together, evaluate it, look at what happened, look at the amounts, do a store migration, get the Treasury involved. The Treasury's got to send back the Bitcoin that they sent in the system, and it just creates this like a big giant headache that would take 4, 5, 6 weeks to settle on, and it's be a huge drain of our resources. And so like I guess I'm just changing my kind of worldview on managing this project and saying like I cared less. I mean, I still care about the money that's being transferred, of course, but I also want to just like make this network iron motherfucking clad so that it doesn't disrupt my day, and I can't from actually producing code or helping to on the biz dev side to get new partners or relationships. I'm now talking to a few different conferences and doing some talks at Bitcoin conference, at the consensus conference as well. Like I'm spending a lot more of my time doing a lot more things outside of development at this point. So I really want to stay focused on those things. I don't want stupid 3 cent issues to be
Well,
bothering me and distracting me from my stuff.
you're absolutely right. And if I can add to it, it does matter for like the user's point of view. Even say like a bond provider, because they just like, what's going on, and they see these stuck vaults and stuck churn, and they just think this is, these guys can't get their act together. This protocol doesn't work, and it's just like they just see that as a problem, and they're not willing to go into the depth to understand it like you do. That it's just, it's 3 cents. Somebody's got to move around, So it's those things add up. They're additive as well. All those little things that take away
Yeah.
your time. Those are all things that turn people off of THORChain and push them away. So I think it's great, that
Yeah.
you're gonna fix those things, and yeah.
Yeah. This is why the 5 whys comes up, right? And make sure we get to the root of things and solve things as best as we can, and so we have less incidents or less bugginess or less stuck whatever things, or even like the thing today about Gaia. Like Gaia got behind, you know what I mean? There was a new version of Gaia. Maybe we didn't get the patch out late enough. Maybe the nodes weren't quick in picking it up enough. Whatever that is, we'll probably do a 5 whys around that as well, to make sure that we don't, the next time there's a Gaia or other chain, we don't have a quarter of the nodes not observing that chain or whatever. Like all this stuff needs to be done in a much more arduous and intense way, so that we pay a lot of money up front to solve these problems. Like it's maybe too much time in some sense, you could argue, but over the long term, it just like really smooths things out, so that we can stay focused on the roadmap rather than on tiny little woes here and there.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in, little things matter, right? Like,
it's broken window theory, right?
Correct.
What is it? Broken window theory?
Broken window theory. Yep.
Denny, put up on your screen here.
Yeah.
Broken window theory is the idea that if you stop things, like if the evils that happen in life are progressions, and it doesn't end, it ends with your house being burnt down, but it starts with like a little broken or cracked window. And if you fix things early on, you don't get to a place where it goes all the way. This is my kind of thing. I think like it was big in New York, New York policing, that they would like take seriously very small things, because people who break the law on very small things like graffiti, are more likely to become, grand larceny or something much more significant. And so if you kind of clamp down on the graffiti stuff, then you kind of naturally clamp down on the, that's the theory, at least, behind it.
I love it. It makes sense. And even a deterrent, right? That person might not go from graffiti to something worse, but the worst criminal might see, well, if they're cracking down on graffiti, they're definitely going to crack down on me. And
we apply this logic to the board meetings as well, because I'm a board member for a school district, and I go there, and if the football field looks terrible, if things are unkept, if things are dirty, why should the kids have pride in their school? We have set a standard that is low.
Exactly.
And they will rise to that standard, which is shitty. So I want this to look good. Everyone has to look clean, proper. You set the standard, and that's what matters.
Couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Yeah.
The problem with the idea, though, in general, is that it requires a lot more resources, right? If you're going to like now fix everything and not just like the big things, then obviously it requires a lot more time and resources to do that. And the theory is, if you do that now, you won't have big things later. At least that's my interpretation of it, at least.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's kind of like me dealing with the front end and the new website. Is like, I want to get it all dialed in first before we start driving traffic to it, because we kind of have like that one shot, right, to capture people. So if we start driving all this traffic to the interface and website now, it doesn't really work as well. The new website, it's the old website, like we might lose them. And so it's these little things that just like they're additive, and if you get them done up front, it just has like compounding benefits down the road.
Yep. Yeah, I recall in THORChain history, I remember like back in 2020, or I think it was 2020, it was like super early. We had some sort of like big problem on the network. I don't even recall what it was, but I remember after I did like a deep dive into figure out what it was actually like 5 different bugs, but each bug was like a non-bug. Like, I mean, it was a bug, but it was so insignificant that if you had pointed out to me at that point, like before, I'd be like, oh, yeah, it's a bug, but like, who cares? It really doesn't mean anything. But when these 5 bugs like combine together and like, it's almost like a friggin' Captain Planet scenario, you know what I mean? Like, like individually it was kind of useless and not that big of a deal. But when the bugs combine together, here comes Captain Planet, and there was actually a significant problem. And I was like, oh my God, that's actually pretty fascinating how those things just kind of aligned in that way and actually create a significant problem that the sum of their parts probably were not that big of a deal, but they come together, they become like a multiplicative issue rather than a sum, right? In some way, shape, form. And
it's like an inverse Captain Planet. It's funny.
It's like the inverse Captain Planet.
Yeah, it's like 5
By your
degenerates
powers
going
combined.
and then just like Captain Piece of Shit just like emerges. You know what I mean? I'm here to fuck everything up. By
your powers combined, I will fuck your network.
Oh man, that's awesome. Oh my God,
that was an interesting learning opportunity for me in that case.
Yeah. Well, in my mind, it's the same thing with all the features. So like streaming swaps, limit orders, rapid swaps, and all these little things, just keep inching along. By themselves might seem small, but together could be pretty huge, right? And make a big difference.
Yeah, they become they draw a much better picture.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I do have a request from the audience. People do want to talk about ADR 23. And for those who don't know, ADR 23 is ADR Boone submitted. It is about burning 87% of the reserve and about 9 million or so tokens be left in reserve. It is currently, it's doing pretty good. We're approaching consensus, but someone wanted
I think we're at 51% last I looked.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
nice.
Yeah, pretty good, pretty quick. I try to stay impartial as possible, guys. If you're bond providers, please reach out to your nodes and vote for or against. Just so we can be responsive ADR. So you have questions or concerns or anything like that, get the dialogue going. But yeah, pretty good. I have not really seen any pushback, and I'm not trying to say that just from
RuneTard had some good questions.
Okay,
I don't think it was pushback. I think it was he just wanted some more insight, clarity on stuff. Yeah.
Was he worried about the balance of the reserve or something?
I forget the exact. He had a list of questions in the chat on Discord, the ADR chat, and it was basically just need some more info to communicate with his BPs. Just want some better understanding. I don't think it was,
which is good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's criticisms per se. It was like I was actually kind of worried because I'm like, man, there's no real chat going on, chatterbox. So I'm glad RuneTard spoke up and have some good questions. I always feel better when there's a lot of discussion, and especially if people are disagreeing, and then we kind of come to a consensus. Like I feel like it's a more solid consensus than 4 people saying 4 things and then it goes and votes. Like my mind is just better when there's a little bit more back and forth. But
yeah, we actually have another code change that has been in the code for a while, but I put it on kind of pause of enabling it because of this ADR, because I didn't want to muck with the reserve too much at the same time, right? But we have another change where like we put a max cap on the reserve. Like let's just say let's put it say this ADR gets adopted and we put it down to like 9 million in the reserve, whatever the number is. We would put the max reserve at 9 million. And so when the reserve makes more money than the 9 million that's there, it's at 9 million, whatever, then that gets secreted into the system income. Because there's a handful of like mechanisms, the reserve like makes a little bit of money, but it's not like a huge amount. And I just wanted to make sure that instead of that burning that rune, which effectively what's happening when you put it in the reserve now, it just goes into system income and increases our system income. And it wasn't a lot of money. I think the last time I looked, it was approximately like a 5% increase in the system income. So it's not like going to make everybody a millionaire, but it's just like a nice little kind of like quality of life kind of change to just slightly increase that system income of the network.
So and when does that go live, Chad?
Well, it's already in the code now. It just requires a node vote or even operational. It's operational in there, so we could flip it on right now if you wanted to.
Well, we should, because this was part of the marketing fund ADR, right? To get to do that. So
Oh, was it really? I didn't
yeah,
realize it was part of that.
yeah. Like that was kind of conditional that we would do this. That's how we help, or how I help sell it, is that we can, by turning that on, in effect, bond providers, note operators aren't at a loss. We're taking the 5% from that extra income to the reserve.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then we need to get on that then.
Yeah, we could
Yeah.
do it now theoretically. I was a little bit hesitant to do so because I didn't want to like set it at like 76 million or whatever the hell the number of rune would
Oh,
be
you have
today.
to, oh, I see.
And then you had to like burn all the rune down to like 9 million because ADR got approved, and then you have to like you could do it. It's not like you couldn't do it. I just didn't want to get like
I
touch
gotcha.
it too many times or something like this.
So
I don't know.
where we're at today, we should get ADR 23. Get that. See,
Yeah,
make
get
sure
it
I get that
approved
go
or
through.
rejected in either direction, whatever direction.
Yeah.
Just let that vote. And if it gets approved, then in 317, I'll get a code change to burn the reserve.
There you go.
And then once 317 comes out, we can go ahead and enable that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Somebody asked earlier in the chat, what happens to the treasury if it runs out of money? I'm wondering if you guys have thought about that. Any ideas?
Well, the treasury is pretty healthy at this time. I mean, last I was told it was like 8 million or 9 million or something like this in total, something like this. Um, and that's enough space to run for years. That said, it is a limited amount of money, and it won't last forever. I think in theory, unless like room goes to bananas or something like this, or whatever. But if the treasury runs out of money, that is obviously a significant problem, because treasury is how we pay for most devs, right? Like my salary comes out of the treasury, for example, right? And other devs too. Some devs, like Nine Realms employees, like Ursa, for example, or like Familiar Cow or something like that, would come out of the Nine Realms dev, which is really where the dev fund is, right? The dev fund goes to Nine Realms currently, and that's used, and that's produces like $50,000, $60,000 a month, $70,000. It's not like a huge amount of money in this current market, but enough to pay for Ursa's salary and Cow and whatever, and that kind of thing. But at some point in time, like that, things might change, right? And the treasury pays for a lot of things, not just devs, but we also pay for biz dev. We also pay for dashboards and contracts with security agents, and maybe I'm going to start doing conferences, right? And pay for maybe like pay for my flight, for example, to go to a conference and that kind of stuff, right? And so I don't know how much we spend out of the treasury right now. I think it's off the top of my head, I don't know. It's considerably more than the dev fund currently supplies. But if the dev fund were to go to zero tomorrow, then we'd have a significant problem at hand, because we wouldn't be able to pay the people who keep everything on. So hypothetically, let's just say that it happens. Say that the treasury got hacked tomorrow and all the funds are lost. Let's just say that's what happens. Well, then we would need to refund that treasury in one form or another. Now, there's two ways of going at it. One is we could try to strike a deal with some investors. We can go to your Delphi Digitals or something like this and ask for some kind of investment. That might be a hard thing to do given the times, given THORFi, given the bearish market that we're in currently. That might be hard to kind of to build that kind of investment. The second opportunity would be going to the community and saying, hey, we want to fund the treasury. Here's how we can do that. Now, that can be done through a token mint. Like we could, vote and mint X number of tokens and give it to the treasury, and the treasury will use that money to pay for the things it needs to pay to keep the ecology alive, the ecosystem alive. We could do it through, increasing the dev fund from the 5% that it is now to 10%, 15%, 20%, 30%, 100%. I don't know, not 100%, but like whatever number would be needed in order to keep things alive and keep all the funding there. So that would be something we'd have to discuss as a community to keep that alive in one form or another. Or we could just say the treasury is done. Fuck the treasury. It had a good run, but it's over. And now we're going to fund the project directly from the protocol itself. And the treasury is no longer going to exist. And whenever we want to, pay a salary or pay this, or, we were talking about token terminal earlier in the conversation, like we get to go to the community and do an ADR and, hey, we want to pay the token, token terminal $100,000 a year to blah, 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 and the community would have to pay, would have to vote on that and so forth and so on. That gets very like kind of micromanagey at that point, which it might be, not the best way to go at it. You could argue that's the best way to go at it. You could argue that's not the best way to go at it, but that's something the community would have to like figure out. But that we would have to have an ADR at that point to just to talk to the community and say, how do you want to move forward? Here's option A, here's option B, here's option C. Quite similar to like the whole TCY thing, right? We had 5 or 6 different options of how we wanted to go at coming back from the THORFi stuff, and the community voted. We voted for TCY, and we implemented it, and it's working, and it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, and it's paying back people with their owed and all that kind of stuff. And so a similar situation. We'd have to figure it out as a community.
Yeah, I'm open to the idea of just minting the tokens. I mean, it'd be in my mind a necessary evil. And like you said, you get several million now. I like to think it's room price will recover, and hopefully you guys are wise enough to raise some cash, right? If
yeah, we're doing the best like we can to one of my goals right now is to also like cut down on spending where we can, right? It's not a great time in the market. Running nodes is not as profitable as it was a couple of years ago, whatever. And you have to, like a responsible business, you have to be, reactive to the market conditions of the situation, and you have to cut where you can cut and don't cut where you can't cut, and be as fiscally responsible as you can about, how you operate as a treasury or a project or a company.
Yeah. I like to think that's tomorrow's problem. I don't think we have to.
Yeah, no, like I said, like we got
much.
the treasury's healthy. We got money. I don't want to say money to burn, because that's not the case, but like we got plenty of time and plenty of a runway. And if like, maybe in 2026 or 2027, the market goes up, we're back to all-time highs, whatever, like that's a totally like plausible thing to happen. It's a possible thing to happen. And in that case, the treasury is no longer like, $8 million. It's now 50 million or whatever the hell the numbers are going to be. Right.
Yeah.
And at that point we can sell a bunch of Rune or Bitcoin or whatever into stables and, fund the bear markets, in that scenario. And, but then again, the treasury is like, it's not really owned by the community. Like the POL is owned by the community and the reserve is owned by the community. That's why we do votes and ADRs and code changes around these things. But the treasury is not done by that. The treasury was a private fund. That was a bunch of private investors invested money early on into THORChain's history to provide initial funds to pay my salary in those 2019 days and other things we needed to pay money for, AWS costs and whatever else. So like the treasury itself is not really owned by the protocol or the community. It's owned by private investors.
And a little history walk back, guys. I got to say, and I'm not just, kissing ass here. Like the Treasury, in my opinion, has done an excellent job with the funds. If back in 2021, we did have those early exploits when mainnet or ChaosNet, I should say, went live. Treasury, no one lost a single penny from those days. And if there is something on the protocol side that goes wrong, the Treasury is just chronically been a great steward of the money. And I mean, you are a good steward because the money's still there, right? I mean, it's lasted for years.
the initial investment into the Treasury, I think from my memory, and this is a long time ago, but it was like $1.5 million initially, which is like fuck all money in crypto land, right? Like EOS had like something like $6 billion investment or something like absolutely ludicrous numbers of monies. And like, but we always just had like my JP and myself has had the mentality that like, we don't need $1 billion here. What we need is like dedicated, a small group of smart people who are like laser focused in delivering, this idea we had about cross-chain swaps and all this. And we did so much with so little as a project, right? We didn't hire hundreds of people like EOS did or Near for that matter, or any of these other guys. We've never had more than like full-time on-hand staff. Never been more than like 6 people at the height, or 8. I mean, it's tiny, right?
Yes.
But we're able to achieve so much with so little, and often that comes with some negatives of like, we don't have as much money for token terminals of the world or something like this, or spending money on booths at at conferences that cost, probably astronomical amounts of money, more money than they're probably worth, to be honest with you. But we get done, we ship what we need to ship, and we deliver what we need to deliver with such little money. So the fact that we started with 1.5 million and today, 6 years later, it's $6 million or $8 million, where the hell the number is. I think that's meaningful, of something.
That is very meaningful. This is a great pivot point, I think, because Kenton, I'm going to bring something up on your end, but I say this all the time, whether it's a live stream or I'm talking to people in DMs on Telegram or X or Discord, whatever. I say THORChain's most powerful component is the people behind it. It is. We have an amazing community, a bunch of dedicated, just rugged, tough individuals who are passionate or who are determined to accomplish this goal of just a free and fair world. So this is my pivot point, Kenton. BTC Las Vegas is coming up, and we are organizing something, and then you've got a little app called Partiful. I reminded you, buddy. I got you. Do you want me to put it up on share screen right now? I could do that.
Yeah, go for it.
Do.
I
Yeah,
figured
right,
it
brother.
out. That was the first option in ChatGPT. I just made.
So here we go, guys.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Actually,
Kenton.
they actually had the lightning thing. That was actually kind of neat. They had some effects I could add, but it's this is a free site that I got we can get RSVPs for a meetup in Vegas. And I picked Sunday because I figured that's probably when people have the least things going on. I imagine once you start going to the conference, start getting busy doing stuff. Maybe you're busy Monday, Tuesday evening. So I figured Sunday would probably be the most people would have the most free time. But basically, if you're going to the conference, if you're going to Vegas, and you want to meet up, please RSVP, because then I can go find a restaurant, a bar, whatever. And until I have a head count, I have no idea the size of space that I should look for. If there's going to be 10 of us, if there's going to be 100. So obviously you can imagine that's going to drastically change where we go. So if you want to meet up in Vegas, just casual, let's get to know each other, meet in person. And you can bring a friend, bring 2 friends, bring 5 friends. We want to introduce people to THORChain as well. So everyone's welcome, everyone's invited. It's just, this would be like a quasi side event. I'm not putting in too much effort into this. Yeah, if you guys going to Vegas and you want to meet up, please RSVP.
Yeah, I was just talking to 2 days ago. I had a meeting with one of the guys at Bitcoin Magazine who puts on this whole conference, Bitcoin conference. And we were talking about me doing a talk. Actually, I was actually suggesting I had to talk about Huginn, because it's such an interesting thing about AI development within crypto, blah blah blah. And I don't know if it's gonna happen yet. I'm late in the game talking to him. It's we're only like 45 days out or less than that, or whatever it is. So I'm not sure if I'll get a speaking spot or not, but if I do, I'll definitely be there in Vegas. And if I'm in Vegas, I'm definitely coming to this event.
Awesome.
I love it. And go ahead, Kenton.
Patriot Denny, do you have the link to that?
Yeah.
Can you post a link in the group chat for people?
Yes, sir. I'll do it right now. And guys, I met Chad the first time in real life. I think it was 2022. Yeah, it was ETH Denver. Okay. Because you see this guy online. I'm watching his stuff. I'm like, this guy's pretty cool. He's speaking he's saying some words I'm enjoying. And I was like, I got to meet these guys. I got to meet the team. I got to meet them, because you never know if things are legit, right? I'm telling you guys, the most important thing you can do is to actually come meet the people that you interact online. It's so powerful when you form that human connection. It's just, you get a sense for what the person's actually like. There's a distance between myself and you watching this, or because it's just a recording, it's just a bunch of it's just electricity. When you touch someone, you talk to them, you laugh with them, you share a drink with them, it creates a bond that you cannot mimic. Guys, and if you've never been to a crypto conference before, if you've never hung out with them, I'm telling you, there's nothing like it. The conversations you have in real life, you cannot have anywhere else, because the people that you interact with in TradFi world, they just simply don't understand, they don't have the knowledge. But again, what Kenton said, please come, and if you come, bring a friend with you, because we want to create new Thor chats. We want to increase our community. There is nothing more powerful you can do. So that's my plea to you guys. If you think you can make it, make it. Let's go.
And just guys, the only reason I'm not putting more effort into making a proper side event, just one is my own time. I just don't have time, and then 2 is budget, right? So like I'll find a place where we can, pay for drinks and some appetizers. But to do a full blown side event, like the other projects do, I just don't have the bandwidth for it right now. And
Yeah.
so, eventually we're gonna get to that point, guys. So this is just kind of like our
It's gonna be at Kenton's hotel room, everybody, in his penthouse.
yeah.
Let's
Come to my
go to the
hotel room.
Bellagio. We're at the Bellagio, everybody, at Kenton's penthouse.
And Denny will touch you because he
Thanks,
yeah.
Come get touched by Denny.
Yeah.
Serving ticket number 35.
Oh, buddy. Well, we could get a THORChain, let's say we do really well. We'll get the THORChain party boat, THORChain party yacht, and then we'll all go sail into the Canary Islands, and then we go hang out with Kenton, and we just go.
Depending where we go, they do stuff like that, right? Like maybe in Miami, we might be able to do something like that. Like in Cayman, whenever they do conferences,
Cayman, that's a Canary.
they'll
Sorry,
do party boats are a thing in Cayman, and they'll get a catamaran and go out and so yeah, like and dude, I haven't forgot about your chocolate fountain. So we'll definitely get one of those one day. Yeah, eventually, guys, we'll get there. Yeah.
You know what we gotta do? We gotta take like a donation box or whatever, right? People can just donate whatever money they want, and then we just put it all on black or something. Do you know what I mean? Like it would be like a fun group, just high stakes. If we just gather something ridiculous amount of money, and we're we're gonna put it on black. Fuck it. Well, you gotta do it Vegas style.
somebody has some reservations about giving their phone number to the website, so maybe we can make an alternative. Maybe we can get a side. I don't know.
I said no. Personal information, so you should be able. Sodamax.
It required me to send his phone number.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Ah, shoot. Okay, sorry guys. Okay, I'll come up with a different one, and I'll go find something. Unless somebody knows, you guys in the audience, anybody knows a site that I don't need. Chad, did you send me one?
I think I sent. I think what I sent you was Particle.
It was Particle. That's the one you ended up using.
Okay. Sorry guys, I clicked off asking for personal info, so I guess they still
maybe it's something that you can look at it and toggle or something. I don't know, or remake it. Maybe there was a mistake made.
After we're done, I'll take a look, see if I can change it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it's free, right? They're harvesting. We got to harvest our info somehow, right? Like we're the product, right? Because it's free. Right. So I'll take another look.
That's probably right.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll get it figured out. We got some time, but yeah, guys, all seriousness, go. If you can go, please go. I'm telling you, it's so cool. I do have something real quick. I don't know. I know we talked on. We were kind of. It's hard. I really wish someone would come and maybe put a little pushback, but the next. It's not an official ADR yet, but POL ad, perhaps called ADR 24. We talked about it's a hard sell for nodes. In order to add another, fee, maybe if you take the burn and split it, or just switch the burn entirely to the POL, and I think all three of us agreed. It's just all three of us think it's better. There's a lot of people in the community, and I want to make sure I represent them, that say they just love that burn and they want to keep that burn.
Well, I will speak for them, because I get it. Like, I know a lot of people like it, and I've had people tell me, like, 6-figure rune holders tell me that the only reason they haven't sold is because of the burn. Like they believe in it, they're attracted to it. So and that's probably one of the biggest people get defensive about, is getting rid of the burn. And I mean, that's just what we hear. It's that saying, you hear one complaint and there's 10 other people that have the same complaint. We hear one person wanting to keep the burn, there's 10 other people that want to keep it too. So I get it. People want to keep it, and I don't. I'm happy to keep it. So everyone always freaks out when we start talking about it. It doesn't make sense or should go or whatever. But I do like the POL idea. Like, the more I'm thinking about it, and you said this, I think a few podcasts ago, Chad, about how, the protocols just own all the liquidity, and we don't have to worry about trying to attract outside liquidity, and then it's sticky. It's there forever. It never goes away. And that's THORChain's biggest one of our biggest advantages right now is we have real revenue, and so that just helps build us a moat that we have this liquidity doesn't go away. But I keep coming back to, like, if we all agree the POL idea is good, just where do we get the money from? I still come back to rearranging the existing POL and taking some money out of the existing pools and seeding these new pools. And I have to push back. LPs are worried about withdrawing liquidity from a pool, locking in some of their losses. It doesn't really lock it in. It just changes the ratio at which they need to break even, right? And it just pushes it a bit higher. And I don't know the math. I'm guessing here, totally 100% guessing. But like, if we take 5% out of these pools to go seed all these new pools, is it really going to affect the LPs that much? Like, is it going to, maybe now they need room to go to $5 to break even. Maybe they have to go to $5.25 to break even. Like, is it really that big of a difference? Meanwhile, we can seed like 50 new pools and try and kickstart things going and try and get some more, grill with THORChain, get the room price up sooner. That could be worth it, right? To have, have some liquidity withdrawn. And then that way, because right now with POL, like, that's part of the argument or debate is like, well, what percentage of revenue? And it's like, okay, if we do 2% or 5%, like, it's going to take a couple years just to get to a couple $1 million. Whereas we can get to a couple $1 million today by just moving some of the existing POL around, and then we can add to that with 2% or 5% of the revenue and start adding into those pools. So I guess where I'm going with this, in my mind, if we all agree POL is a good idea, we should do it as soon as possible. Why wait 2
Well,
years?
let me give you the bearish case for the POL, right? Just to offer a different side of the equation. When we first launched THORChain, we wanted to have really deep pools. And the reason why that's so important is because the deeper the pool, the larger the trade you can take, basically, without paying exorbitant amounts of fees, right? And so we wanted to have really deep pools. That's partially why we had the whole, like, rune in all the pools, plus like, that's part of the equation. Then we came up with this idea of streaming swaps, where you can have a really big trade but not pay exorbitant amounts of fees, which is what the size of the pool was supposed to do initially. But now we just trade the depth of the pool with time, right? So the trade takes longer, so being executed in a single block, and now executes in 10 blocks or 20 blocks or whatever quantity of blocks it is to achieve the same outcome, right? Now, taking even a step further with rapid swaps, you kind of remove the time element, and you're going back towards a single block, sort of, not literally, but possibly, and for some cases that might be the case. But you're getting closer to back to that, like, you're still taking the advantage of that streaming swap and giving that really good price, really great price execution. But now you're getting the time to go back towards one block again, right? And it doesn't really matter. I mean, it does matter somewhat, but it doesn't really matter if the pool is super deep or the pool is shallow. I mean, there is a difference between those two things. I'm not saying that they're one and the same, but it's not as big of a difference as it was on THORChain day one, when we didn't have streaming swaps and we didn't have rapid swaps, and we relied solely on the size of the pool to make large trades possible, which is why we always wanted to have deeper and deeper and deeper pools. So, I mean, there's not a downside to having deeper pools. It's only upside. So you're never going to hear me argue we should have smaller pools. But my argue is, though, it's like, by growing the POL, how much value does the community actually get, or the swapper actually get, of increasing the POL? It sounds like there's more liquidity, but the problem is not the problem, but the other side is that, like, liquidity is no longer just the pool. Liquidity with rapid swaps is now the arbs as well. Arbs are providing the liquidity in effect, right? Which is very similar to what conceptually somewhat similar, at least, to what concentrated liquidity was in some ways, right? By focusing your liquidity on a narrower kind of scope, you are in effect kind of arbing a little bit the price of the pool, so to speak, right? It's not exactly 1-to-1, but in the vicinity of. So you can make a rational argument that increasing the size of the POL, it does not necessarily mean, that it's necessarily like better, at least not in the way that it used to. Now, does that mean we can have $10 pools and everything's fine? Of fucking course not. That's not what I'm saying, right? But going from a $50 million pool to a $80 million pool, how much of a change is that really? Now, the streaming swap itself will get larger on that case, so the size of the sub swap will be larger, meaning that instead of doing it in 10 trades, we're going to do it in 7 trades or something like this, right? But we also have the rapid swaps making it happen, more or less in the same amount of time, whether it's 10 trades or 7 trades, right? It's like execution is almost the same or very close to it, right? So the question has become like, well, what kind of value do we get out of the POL growing to some exorbitantly large numbers? I'm not sure it does.
Well, that I feel like further justifies my point, because what we should see then, in theory, as limit orders and rapid swaps grow and more adoption, the Bitcoin pool is going to become less efficient in a sense. Like it's going to collect, like on a per pool depth basis, relative to the other smaller pools. Like the smaller pools will become more efficient, and they should earn more fees based on their depth. Like we already see a bit of this. So,
right, but the problem is that the POL is not making any money despite what the pool is large or small, because the incentive pendulum is pushing almost all the yield towards nodes.
But the fees are going to nodes, right? So
Yes.
like we should want to maximize the fees we get in the network. And there's just a different way. If we can, if we're making, a dollar a month out of the Bitcoin pool going to nodes and bonds, but we can take 5% of that out. Now we're making 95. Let's say we're making 95 cents a month. Let's say it's a linear shift. We take 5% out, add into other pools, and those pools are smaller, but maybe we're making 10 cents a month out of all those new pools. The POL is the same, but now we're making $1.05 per month. We've actually increased the yield going to nodes and bonds.
I kind of have a different. I mean, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with either one of you, because you're kind of talking about reallocating. I get that. The thing that I think about why I really love the POL, at least my brain does, maybe I'm missing something, is if you have exogenous assets that are being deposited in the pool, or you take Rune, you sell half, you put it in the pool, that increases the depth, obviously, right? Now, obviously, arbitrage is going to fluctuate, whatever the value of the exogenous asset relative to Rune is going to swap, but those are assets in the pool, and even if there's no swappers at all, this is going to result in more arbitrage volume, because the macro environment. And so those assets, instead of just burning the Rune, it's actually working. And when I think about it, we've always said at the very beginning, I remember one of the first things you said, Chad, I think it's 2020 actually, we want as much Rune in the system as possible. That is the best case thing.
That's
for
still true
THORChain.
today.
It's still true today, yes. And so if you have POL that goes into whatever pool, maybe we sign to Solana, maybe AVAX, whatever, doesn't matter, that pool has to be arbitraged. Just assume no volume. Now, of course, if it deepens, you could make the argument that technically, yes, you have better quotes, with streaming swaps, limit swaps, rapid swaps. This is becoming, easier for us to be more competitive. But that deeper TVL coupled with more swap volume, I think those are the main drivers of Rune price. And if these assets are constantly being, it's like a dividend, like it's like an auto compounding dividend every day, like that extra weight in the pool has to be arbitraged by some percentage if the macro environment changes. And so that's just more revenue the moment you start putting these assets. And so if you take the long play on this, we have deeper and deeper pools. That's just more arbitrage volume. That's more money that's just going to the nodes. That's more income. And so because the question is it better than just burning it? And I think it is, right? Because people want the burn. But isn't it also sort of like a burn as well?
Yeah, exactly.
And you could also make the argument that it changes the game theory. It changes. Oh, fuck! It changes the game theory, because if you are a new entree into our ecosystem, and that there is a mechanism that's constantly depositing assets into the pool. That means there's going to be deeper pools and there's going to be more volume. And so you can expect more volume, which will likely increase so then you're less likely to sell your rune, right? Yeah.
Well, you
I
can
think
achieve the
I
same
think that
thing by
works.
instead
Go
of
ahead.
burning the reserve, you could also just donate small pieces over a long period of time to the POL if you wanted. Like that would achieve the same outcome, right?
You'd have to sell half the rune. Well, do you have as
Well,
large an asset you couple it with?
it's inflationary though with the reserve.
It is, but
Yeah.
but like
Yes.
the question is like the POL is growing. The question is, where do you want the money to come from? Do you want to nodes to produce less income and have the nodes basically donate some of their income into the POL? Do you want the token burn to stop burning and start donating, right? Which is, those two things are almost the same thing, but not quite the same thing. Do you want the reserve to be inflating the token, like minting tokens and putting into the POL to grow is it a net benefit if I mint 5,000 rune tokens right now and I just give it to the POL, is that a net negative or is that a net positive, right? And you can say one and you can say the other. It's somewhat subjective in some sense, but like the question just comes down to who do you want to pay it? The same thing about when we talk about income, forget about the incentive pendulum just for a minute. The protocol just made $10,000 in this block. Who do you want to get paid for it? Is it the nodes? Is it the LPs? How's that breakdown going to happen? Is it the POL? Do we want to burn? What do you want to do with this money? We just got $10,000 in our pocket. Are we going to Disneyland? What are we doing here? What's going on with this money? Where do you want it to go? And that's where this structurally comes down to these questions, right? Is if you want the money to go to the POL, okay. If the question is where is it coming from, and is that a net benefit or is that a net negative? And that's people can say different things with how they feel about it.
I do like the idea of turning off rewards for the pools, converting that into POL instead, just having all the liquidity being POL. It doesn't have to collect rewards, and it can be a fixed number. And yeah,
You can
I
do that.
guess.
You can say 90% of all system income goes to the nodes, 10% of all system income, more or less, minus the dev fund, minus the marketing fund, minus all those things, goes into the remainder of that. 10% of it goes into the POL.
Because I'm trying to think as a node operator, right? I'm trying to think long term. It's I've got, so much millions of rune or whatever it is. I believe in this project long term. I think the moment that you have POLs going to the pools, that's already resulting in a more swap volume. Yes, today we've incurred technically a loss of revenue, but by deepening the pools, it's like a feedback loop, right? POL leads to very slightly more volume for arbitrage or whatever. But then that volume then leads to more POL being deposited and on and on and on. I think, we had $1,000 in rune burns yesterday. And so if you would do all POL, that's, 500 rune, 500 BTC or whatever, who knows, going into the pools. And, it's deepening it. My brain likes it. I mean, I understand what you're saying though, because what are you going to do with the funds? But that's just kind of, if I have a long-term play, I seem to like it. Oh yeah. What does POL explain to a 5-year-old? Chad, do you want to do that? All right.
Well, the POL stands for protocol owned liquidity, right? And the very simple way, I mean, a 5-year-old's pretty young to be dealing with crypto, so it's kind of hard to describe it.
6-year-old.
My daughter's 4; she might be able to get it, but she's a smart cookie. No, so it's protocol owned liquidity. So the protocol is an LP effectively, and it's an LP in the various Bitcoin pools, and it's not really treated much different than what you are as an LP or anybody else. It's just that the protocol invested some amount of its its reserve, its rune. I think it came from the reserve initially, but I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. It's been a long time, but yeah, it's just the protocol itself owns some percent of its own pools, and right now the POL probably owns a large percentage of the liquidity on the network. I don't even know how much. I would guesstimate it to be 70%,
I think it's
80%.
more like 100%. or
Is it close to 100?
90 or something like that. Like
It
it's
is
Yeah,
close.
it's
Yeah.
high. It's
yeah,
high.
it's very high.
I don't even know what the numbers are, but
Yeah.
that would, to be honest, like that might change significantly. Like if Rune's price went to $5 tomorrow, like hypothetically speaking, then the synthetics that as
Right.
right now kind of taking an effect would take much less of an effect. And so as an LP, your current standing might be like $1 right now, and your LP standing as a person, but the Rune goes to $5, and all of a sudden your LP is worth, you know, a lot more than $1. It's going to be worth like $10,000. I'm not. Please don't quote me on that. I'm just making up random numbers, so nobody comes at me with anything later. But like, it would change significantly if Rune's price just moved, you know, suddenly to $5 or whatever. I'm not sure how that would change with the POL, because the POL joined at a different time than everybody else in terms of its ratio between asset and Rune, and that matters in that context.
Yeah.
Well, a slight pivot here. I'm going to go on a hunch here, Chad, make a prediction about you. I'm going to say that you've already got your daughter learning about music. Am I right about that?
You know
You're
what?
quite the musician, right?
I do like to play, you know, when I have the time. I have in my bedroom. I was in my bedroom yesterday. I have on my chair, I have a ukulele that I like to play on sometimes. And my daughter comes in and she's like, "Can I play your guitar?" I said, "Sure, go ahead." And she took it out of my bedroom and just kind of went to the living room here and started mucking about with it, just plucking strings or whatever, because she has no idea. And then she's like, "How do you play a song?" And I said, "You got to learn how to play it." It's like, "How do you learn how to play?" It's like, "The same way you learn in school. I had to get a teacher when I was a kid, and I learned how to play." And that's not true for ukulele. I taught myself in that instance. But in general, I learned from a teacher when I was first learning music, when I was a 7th grader or something like this. So she hasn't really got that much into music quite yet, and I don't want to be like too cumbersome, you know, and I'm just trying to ignite her passion for the sound rather than the production of it, in some sense, if that makes sense. Like when she takes a bath, she has her iPad and has a little like Disney tunes, and just getting her engaged and singing along with music. I think that's, at the age of 4, that's probably like what I need to achieve at this age. I'm not going to push beyond that until she shows some sort of interest to learn, you know, piano.
Well,
or something
she
like this.
already showed curiosity and interest, right? She's like, "Can I go get?" That's her affirming.
That is her.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is her. I remember one of my first jobs, like in school, and like I think I was in middle school at the time, and I was teaching piano to people, you know, when I was young kids, and usually young kids and elderly who really wanted to learn piano, you know. But maybe one day I'll teach her. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, well, you know, I did learn a little piano, a little guitar young about. Have you heard of the hurdy-gurdy? You know what that is? The
Yeah, I know the
hurdy-gurdy?
hurdy-gurdy,
That
yeah,
thing
yeah.
is freaking cool. If Rune does really well, guys, I'll probably learn the hurdy-gurdy because I think it's that cool. If I got
It's all
some more
this
free
if
time.
talk. Get rid of this if talk.
Well, if it goes to 1,000, I'm gonna learn a lot more, buddy. Okay, it's contingent. Rune's going to the moon. Do you understand? That is my opinion. Okay, it's just how high we going.
Is bearish on Rune.
Yeah.
Oh man, no, never,
Just
never,
kidding,
buddy.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll know, we'll know it's a bull market. We'll know Rune is peaking when you buy your, what do you call it? Hurdy-gurdy?
Hurdy-gurdy. You gotta look that up. You know what that is, Kenton?
I
That's
don't.
badass. It's a really old device. It's like I think medieval times or something. It's like a mix between like a guitar, and you've got like a crank, and it's freaking cool, man. Hurdy-gurdy.
Cool.
I'll show it to you later. Well,
Cool.
I know we're coming up on 2 hours. You know, I'm trying to wind it back, going a little personal here. Do you guys feel like we missed anything? Is there anything else you guys want to say? We talked about limit swaps, ADR 23, 24, rapid swaps. Talk about Huginn a lot. We love Huginn. I don't think I can think of anything else, really. What do you guys think?
You remembered the party invite. Thanks. I completely forgot.
I got you, buddy. Don't worry.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Let's try and figure something out.
Hey, just simple idea. I know look, guys, I got to tell you, like me and Kenton, Telegram groups, like we're totally swamped. Like I have so many DMs. I can't keep up. I'm a human. I cannot keep up. But maybe we just make a Telegram group. Maybe
if you want to make it,
idea. Yeah, that was one way of doing it.
I guess. But I know people don't have Telegram. So
yeah, but then maybe they don't want to use the friggin' RVSP app. I don't know. It's like,
well, no, I'll
do?
try and find a different
okay,
app.
We'll give you another. Yeah, we'll go with you, and then we'll see.
Yeah, I'll try and think of something. Yeah, I get it, guys. I know you don't want to do KYC. Yeah. We still have a bit of time, right? It's what, March 12th, right? We still got 6 weeks, 5 weeks. So
Oh, yeah,
it's, yeah.
Yeah, so we get about 6
oh,
weeks.
yeah.
Yeah.
We got a lot of time.
Try
We got a
and
lot of time.
try and figure out here before next Thursday. Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, guys, you think we should wrap it there? What do you say?
Yeah, wrap it there.
All right, perfect. Hey, and remember, final call out to the arbs. Be ready Monday or Tuesday. I'm just saying, be ready. Okay. All right, guys. Well, this has been such a fun Thursday. We love Thursday, guys. Just a reminder, we're going to be having this Saturday, we're going to have Xano, a privacy blockchain. In fact, I just got done doing a space with them just before this live stream. Very cool. I've built a relationship with those guys. So we're going to bring them on. We're going to learn about them, how their tech works. I know they love THORChain. We talk about THORChain all the time. So we'll see what they got for us. And of course, guys, keep an eye out next week for Thursday. We'll have another team coming on the following Saturday. So very, very cool. And always remember, guys, these views expressed are solely of the hosts and guests. Any action taken based on this information is at your own risk. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Couple more things here. Sorry, I did a little out of order, guys. If you'd like to become a node operator, never a better time with Rune at these prices. You need some help, reach out to @Runetard on X. @Runetard on X. He'll help you get set up, guys, and find bomb providers. And due to our friends, and again, shout out to Ray Analytics. He helped Kenton with the Masari dashboard. Thank you, Ray. You're absolutely great. He also does recaps on these live streams as well, guys. So please give him a follow. He's @Ray Analytics on X. Super, super good. Love that guy. And with that being said, guys, I think we'll wrap it there. Thank you, Chad, for 2 hours of your time. As always, you're a legend. And we'll see you guys next week.
All right, guys. See you
Bye,
next week.
everyone.